On a seemingly routine morning, I noticed a solitary envelope resting neatly on the kitchen island. My name was etched across it in his distinctive script, gazing up at me. At first, I assumed it was a casual note, perhaps explaining he'd left early for the office or gone to see his mother. But the moment my fingers grazed the paper, a sinking feeling gripped my core, warning me this was no ordinary message. A heavy stillness cloaked the house, its silence almost speaking aloud. His shoes were absent from their usual spot by the door. The bed remained a tangled mess of sheets. These subtle signs screamed that something was deeply amiss. As I held the trembling envelope, an ominous premonition settled over me, certain that its contents would bring no comfort. It carried an unsettling weight, like the hushed pause before a tempest, when the world holds its breath but feels utterly wrong. With unsteady hands, I carefully tore it open, my fingers fumbling with dread. At the top of the page, 2 words stared back, snatching the air from my lungs. Farewell, Emmer. The letter unraveled like a quiet confession, but not one I'd ever anticipated. His words flowed with a calm precision, deliberate and measured. He revealed he'd known for some time, since that evening I returned home, the faint scent of another's cologne clinging to me. The night I claimed I'd been caught up at work. He'd seen through the lie then. The hushed phone calls I took in another room, the extra showers I insisted on, the supposed evenings with friends that were anything but. He'd pieced it all together. What shattered me wasn't just that he'd noticed. It was that he hadn't called me out immediately. He'd waited, silently hoping I'd confess, giving me space to own my betrayal. He wrote of watching me transform into a stranger, someone he could no longer connect with. Each moment eroded him, leaving him empty, with nothing left to cling to. He didn't write out of anger, and that was the most unbearable part. If he'd lashed out, shouted or seethed, I could have taken it as deserved punishment. But his words were steady, raw, laced with a quiet pain yet resolute. He admitted he still loved me, enough to set me free, because staying would ruin us both. In that instant, I saw the full scope of my destruction. I collapsed to the floor, the letter quivering in my grasp as tears surged, unstoppable. It wasn't just guilt, it was the crushing clarity of my actions. My selfishness, my obliviousness to the treasure I'd had. I'd traded something genuine, something steadfast, for a fleeting thrill that meant nothing. The man I'd betrayed wasn't merely a housemate. He was the one who quietly folded my clothes when I left them in the dryer, who soothed my nerves with gentle back rubs, who knew my coffee order by heart and pressed soft kisses to my forehead each night. I'd thought he overlooked the details, but he'd seen everything, absorbing it all with quiet devotion, never drawing attention to it. I'd squandered his love, and now I was left with the cost. I tried reaching him, calling, texting, emailing, but his phone was disconnected. I drove to his workplace, only to learn he'd taken an extended leave. The truth sank in. This wasn't impulsive. He'd planned his departure, not out of vengeance, but from a place of profound sorrow. He needed to escape me, to distance himself from the life we'd woven together. The days that followed blurred into a haze as I replayed every missed signal. The evenings when his gaze lingered a moment too long. The silent dinners where he waited for me to open up, but I stayed closed off. The mornings he'd ask, "Are you all right?" And I'd brush it off with a forced smile. I clung to a fragile hope that he might return, that we could sit down, talk, maybe mend things. But weeks turned to months, and word came through friends that he'd relocated to a quieter town, starting fresh. He never spoke ill of me, just said things hadn't worked out, leaving it at that. Eventually, I wrote back to his letter, not with justifications or pleas, but with raw honesty. I admitted my wrongs, confessed my love for him, and acknowledged that I'd shattered something precious because I didn't know how to cherish true love. I didn't expect a response, and none came. He'd already said his goodbye. That letter remains carefully folded, hidden in a drawer I rarely touch. It stands as a testament to what love can be: quiet, observant, enduring.